We're just going to start first by showing an overview video. It really describes the breadth and history of our organization and all the services that we provide, as well as share some really great highlights from some of Spence-Chapin clients, children, and families that we've served.
Adoption means when you come watching the baby and they want a child to love and care for. I'm happy that I have my new parents. It really changed my life. Like, I never felt home before. Family means that they love each other, they help each other when they're having hard times, and they're always there for each other.
What I like most about it is my daughter would be able to grow up with a beautiful family, and she would know who I am too. My goal is I want to raise a kind and good person. My daughter's name is Ngozi. It means blessing. When I spoke to her birth mother, I said, this adoption is a blessing for me, but that I wanted it to be a blessing for her.
Spence-Chapin helped us along every step of the way.
I just can't imagine having a family any other way.
Spence-Chapin is a New York institution that's been helping to build families for over a century. In fact, we've put together thousands of families. It began in the early 1900s, like a lot of agencies did in urban areas in that time, and it began through individuals who had the interest, will, and means to find families for babies who had been orphaned. Our founders, Clara Spence on the one hand, Alice Chapin and her husband, Dr. Henry Chapin, on the other, first worked individually to do that work. The two agencies came together over time and incorporated in 1946, and thus Spence-Chapin began.
At Spence-Chapin, we say that every child deserves a family, and we truly are able to find a loving family to embrace any child that comes through our program.
We want every child to have a bright future because that's what their birth parents want for them.
Everybody who walks into our organization is met with a level of respect and integrity to meet them exactly where they are, whether it be someone coming in to learn about their background, who was adopted with us 80 years ago, a young birth mother who's looking for counseling and support, an adopted teen who's 18 or 20 years old and is looking to sort of bring some of the pieces of their life back, together. A little 5-year-old or 6-year-old who's having some challenges with their bedtime routine or making friends, to somebody who's coming in because they're really experiencing some significant distress in their life. The Spence-Chapin way is to connect with them, to respect them, and to help them find the best in themselves.
My name is Jasmine. I decided to choose Spence to help me with putting my son for adoption. I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't have any friends who were going through the same thing that I was going through. Spence-Chapin really helped me because just the calmness and the acceptance that they made me feel, that was one of the best things. For a child that's already born, typically they will go into our interim care program. These are families that we have that care for these babies while a birth parent tries to decide what they want to do. Do I want to parent? Do I want to place this child with the family? They were able to guide me. They were able to be the ear that I needed just to navigate my relationship with Chris and Teresa.
My name is Teresa, and I have a daughter, Sophia, who is 12, and a son who's Jack, and he is 7, and we adopted both children through Spence-Chapin. The first time that we met Jasmine, it was an instant connection.
We have our own witty banner between the three of us, which is great, and we're just very open with each other. I feel like Chris and Teresa help me through certain things that I'm going through in my own life personally, and they're like my family. So it's like having another set of aunts and uncles, mom and dad. Whatever I need, they're there for me. They treat me like family. I mean, I'm lucky that I even get to say that I get to be a part of it. So that's what makes me happy.
The reason I felt that Spence-Chapin really wanted to build a family is because we did meet other families before we ultimately were placed with our children. And it was about the counseling that they gave to the birth families to make sure it was the right decision.
The effect Spence-Chapin has on families, it provides connection. And from birth family, adoptive family to the child, we're the connective tissue basically between these families.
We did an international adoption. The girls are both from Bulgaria.
Spence-Chapin helped us along every step of the way. I mean, it's an overwhelming task to take on without numerous resources.
We just say that they're going to be our mom and dad forever because they're stuck with us. They will never get out. The glue is under them.
We recruit across the country for families to adopt children with special needs. We've partnered with a lot of the children's hospitals in the area to have children residing in their facilities whose biological parents don't have the capacity to care for their ongoing needs. And we are able to find amazing families for these children.
So Spence-Chapin it is more than adoption. It's family, it's children, it's belonging, it's connection. Every child deserves a good family because family uniquely can nurture a human being into adulthood. And we all need nurture, and we all need love. And what I'm proud of, I've been part of an organization that works with openness and warmth and respect to help create permanency, good families for children who need them.
Okay, great. So as you heard in the video, we have been an award-winning nonprofit organization for over 100 years. And our mission really is that, we believe that every child deserves a family, and we provide that lifelong support for women, children, and families, and all members of the adoption triad. And again, of course, this program that we're speaking about today is our Options Counseling Services, which again is available to women, children, and families throughout New York and New Jersey. And Jen's going to talk a little bit more about that.
So at Spence-Chapin, we provide free, confidential, and unbiased options counseling to women and couples who are facing an unexpected pregnancy. So what that is, options counseling is counseling and informing them and educating them on their options regarding their pregnancy. And options counseling is culturally sensitive and multilingual. We do have brochures in 9 languages. We do free language interpretation for any client that comes to us that speaks a language other than English. Options counseling is free and accessible. At no time does a biological parent pay for services that they receive at Spence-Chapin, and we are non-biased. So although we're an adoption agency, we never pressure a woman or a couple to choose adoption. We support any option that they choose.
And again, you can call us at any time to refer a client. She can be literally just found out she was pregnant, anywhere in her, first trimester all the way through 3rd trimester, and even after giving birth. And occasionally we still hear from women, both at labor and delivery, and also even if they're parenting and they have a 0 to say, 5-month-old at home. So, things can change and things can come up. So again, we're available at any time. And again, Jennifer did mention all the 9 languages of pre-translated materials that can be included in some of the packets and brochures that you request. Also, currently, we have staff that speaks English, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. So we're always aiming to be accessible to all of you and all of your patients.
So the options that are reviewed with women and couples who come to us for options counseling includes parenting, and those who choose to parent are given support and resources to help them parent their child. Adoption, and that includes kinship adoption, which means a family member adopts a child or takes guardianship of the child. Foster care, and abortion. And again, any option that a woman or couple choose, they are supported.
Absolutely. And we can get into a little bit of the nuances too about adoption, foster care, and even kinship care. In the next slide, I just also did want to mention that, the vast majority of women who call us, they are probably considering parenting, possibly abortion, and the ones that they probably know the least about are adoption, and that's why we bring this added level of expertise. So I know most of you are probably very familiar about the differences, especially some of you have referred women already to us for options counseling or even adoption assistance. But just to clarify, because we do find people sometimes in the general community still are unclear, what's this difference between adoption and foster care? So adoption, and at least adoption when we speak about making a private adoption plan, right, through Spence-Chapin versus the foster care system, a birth mother actually chooses the type of family that she wants to parent her child, and she voluntarily and legally, relinquishes her guardianship to this adoptive family. Birth parents have the right, again, to choose the adoptive family, create an open adoption if they would like, and adoption is a permanent and loving choice. So it's not co-parenting, it's not temporary, it's not respite, but it is really making a permanent and, lifelong plan for their child of who will be their parents and who will raise them. Versus with foster care, that really happens through the Child Welfare Agency in New York City, ACS, in Long Island, DSS, or CPS in Jersey, DCPP. But basically, this can also be voluntary if the mom wants, but it can also be involuntary, right? So it can be a termination of parental rights. The Child Welfare Agency makes those decisions about the child's day-to-day care, who they will be with, what foster care family or group home, etc. The biological parent does not get to make those choices. And then also, women may choose this, women and couples may choose it because they want to regain custody and they want to parent. So this is a temporary situation where then the birth mother must take steps to rectify the reason why why her child was placed in foster care. So again, she's surrendering these rights temporarily and then hopefully can regain those rights. So those are the major differences at Spence-Chapin. We provide, all the services for birth parents to make an adoption plan with Spence-Chapin, but we do not provide foster care services. But we can explain to them the differences between these options.
So options counseling is a necessary and important service. And this chart here shows us why this is. The Guttmacher Institute did a study, and they reported that nearly half of all U.S. pregnancies are unintended, meaning they're either mistimed or unwanted. So again, this is why we feel options counseling is so important, to just be there for these women who may not necessarily know what they're doing and may be in a crisis mode when they find out that they're pregnant and are not expecting it. Options, like Lucy stated before, can be presented at any time, whether that's a couple weeks after just finding out that they're pregnant or after birth. And we thank all of our hospital referrals. We get many of them for born babies and babies that have been born. And, a woman or a couple may not know necessarily what they want to do. And there are many reasons why a woman or a couple might consider adoption or just may consider options counseling.
Yes, and we're going to go into those reasons, but even before that, I did want to highlight, so nearly half of all U.S. pregnancies being unintended, that is a current statistic, as well as the fact that that percentage is even higher for low-income women, women of color. I know a lot of you at the different sites are seeing a very diverse community, low-income for the federally qualified health centers as well. So again, this is our population that we really want to make sure are aware of all of their options.
So there are many reasons why, and before I get into them, I just want to state, despite the reason why a woman might be considering her options, many of the women that come to us, they state time and time again that they feel shame, they feel guilty, they feel judged, and many of them hide their pregnancy. There are many, many instances where we have clients who we're the only person that they told that they're pregnant. And these are just some of the reasons, these feelings and these emotions. But some reasons include already parenting one or more children. And as we know, the more children one has, the more difficult it gets to parent these children. And that's especially true in the cases of single mothers who do not have any support. Another reason is experiencing addiction or mental illness, and sometimes those go hand in hand. Not being in a relationship with a biological father, either because their relationship is estranged or maybe he just does not want to be involved. Sometimes we have clients that come in, women who don't know who the biological father is, and we have about 74% of our clients are single women who do not have the support of the biological father. And of course, if he's around, if he wants to be involved, we do encourage his involvement. We find it's very important that both parents are planning for their child. Another reason is that clients may be in college or grad school. They might be pursuing a career, and they feel that they're just not at a point in their lives where they can care for a child. Other clients we see are pregnant and have a child that has been diagnosed with special needs, and this can often be very difficult even in planned pregnancies. Parents sometimes just don't feel that they have all the resources they have to care for a child that has special needs. Many of our clients are victims of trauma, and that includes domestic violence, abuse, and/or rape, sometimes the whole three. We do get many minors. Just so you know, it's very important for you to know that minors do reserve the right to make an adoption plan if they choose to do so. We do encourage their parents to be involved. If they want to have a family session, then we will counsel everyone together. However, if our client tells us she does not want to tell her parents and she's 15, for example, she reserves the right to make an adoption plan. Some clients may be unemployed, may experience unstable housing, maybe death of a loved one or a family member, involvement with Child Protective Services, as Lucy stated, ACS, DCPP, and CPS on Long Island. Just so you know as well, many of the hospital providers maybe had to call Child Protective Services because of a positive toxicology screen. But a client reserves the right to make an adoption plan even if she's involved with CPS. We do work with CPS, we've worked alongside them, so that's just something to be aware of. And also, we do see recent immigrants or undocumented immigrants, and these clients usually are afraid that we might report them, but that's not the case. It doesn't matter, if you're documented or undocumented, you can still make a private adoption plan, and we do not report anyone to immigration.
Right. And I did want to just, because we're listing a lot of things here, I just wanted to repeat again, if your client is already involved with Child Protective Services, you can still let them know that there is a resource for them for options counseling, and they can still make an adoption plan and try to avoid placement into foster care. We hear that as well, that even though moms don't have a plan or couples don't have a plan, they do not want to see their child in foster care. They want to make a permanent, loving, adoption plan with a family of their choice, and so that is a different process, and we can't guarantee that Child Protective Services will let them know they have this right. So again, it's up to you all to know, you can call both of us, and ultimately we want it to be the biological parent's decision which path they want to go into. And again, we find that CPS is very willing to work with us if they know that the parents are already speaking with us and have made it clear that they want to make a private adoption plan. But again, they don't always have this language, especially if they're giving birth and they have no idea what their options are. They don't know how to advocate for it yet. The other thing I wanted to elaborate a little bit more is the minor situation. I mean, obviously you all work, sometimes I have adolescent health centers here too, and how hard is it to hide a whole pregnancy or even giving birth to a parent or adult. So obviously at some point they probably will have to notify that adult, and we're there to support them in doing so, but letting them and their family or support system know that it's actually their decision to make, and they shouldn't be making it out of coercion by anyone else. But as you can see, there are so many of these risk factors that I'm sure you guys are seeing as you're meeting with patients and throughout your practice. So just to be aware that there are these resources, and you're probably one of the first people they've shared this with. So again, to just let them know, even if it's too soon for them to figure out what they want, have a resource, an adoption resource as well, just in case they want to reach out. Okay, this is a story we wanted to share of Melissa and her baby Bennett. So Melissa is from Bolivia. She was a recent immigrant. So again, one of the factors that, it's hard to parent when you're new in this country and you don't have a lot of social support. So she had her father with her. She was staying with her father. She was referred by her hospital social worker. She was getting prenatal care at a Manhattan hospital, and she was at 36 weeks already. So she was learning out really late. She was getting her first prenatal care visit at 36 weeks. And she didn't think that she was going to be able to parent. Luckily, she was connected to us. We offered several counseling services and support prior to her giving birth. After she gave birth, she had a few baby visits, and she did change her mind. She decided she was going to be able to parent. She had the support of her father. They both came to the agency and had a parenting plan in place, and we tried to connect them to resources and mother-baby programs so that she could continue to get that support. So again, this is just to show that we don't pressure women to make an adoption plan. It is absolutely okay for her to change her mind, and we're there to support women throughout this journey.
So this slide just highlights that any parent really has the right to make an adoption plan, and that includes minors, undocumented immigrants, youth in foster care, like Lucy stated, people being investigated by CPS, non-English speakers, and people with disabilities.
And so basically, I think any client that walks through your door, has the right to make this type of decision and make an adoption plan. The youth in foster care question can come up again if you know someone who is in foster care. They may not think they have the right. They may think it's up to the foster care agency or their foster parent, and that is not the case. They're like any other. If they're still a minor, they're like any other minor, and it is their plan to make. And I'm sure it will be coercion from, whoever is their guardian, but it really should be their choice to make.
So I'd just like to give you an overview of modern adoption in America. About half of all Americans have some connection to adoption. So either they were adopted, they did adopt a child, or they know someone that was adopted. And adolescents who were found to score high on measures of school performance, friendships, and self-esteem. And about 39% of all adopted children in the U.S. have special health care needs. So that's why it's important to be connected to Spence-Chapin, because we do have that expertise and knowledge when it comes to special needs.
Absolutely. We can definitely find families for any children born with special needs, and we're going to elaborate that fully in our special needs adoption program slide. Also, just really great to see the outcomes of adoptees. And again, these are outcomes mostly for adoptees who have been adopted through a private adoption plan, not through the foster care system, where again, you see a lot more trauma. So again, to see the outcomes for modern adoption is great. All right, and so this slide is going to talk about different types of adoption. At Spence-Chapin, we very much promote open adoption because it is proven to be beneficial, but birth parents who, work with Spence-Chapin have the right to choose whether that's an open adoption or a confidential adoption. So an open adoption is when, sorry, just flip forward, so can we go back one more? Okay. An open adoption is when the birth family and the adoptive family and the child are in contact, right? And that type of contact can vary. So at Spence-Chapin, the process is when we're working with a parent or a pregnant woman and she decides she wants an adoption, she gets to immediately start to choose and meet with and match with the prospective adoptive families that she would like to. And then at this match meeting, if they're both in agreement about the plan, then the birth parent can also decide what type of ongoing contact they want. And the adoptive parents also agree to that contact. So it is a bit of a compromise and sort of an exploration between the two sides. And typically what we see at Spence-Chapin is about 1 to 2 in-person visits a year and quarterly correspondence. So a lot of people use email, social media, Skype even, or and all the different ways we have to communicate. But again, this can vary based on the different birth parent and adoptive families that we work with, but that's about a typical agreement. It can also be a legally binding agreement as well. They can choose for that as well. And then of course, if a birth parent is adamant that they're not sure that they're able to maintain an open adoption, that they need to keep this decision confidential for personal reasons, then it is absolutely their decision to make a confidential plan, and they can have that form as well if they want. So the benefits of open adoption, which we spoke, which is why we promote it as best practice. There have been studies by many different adoption resource organizations and experts, and it has shown to have benefits throughout the triad. So adoptive parents report high satisfaction with the birth-parent relationship and benefits. They see this in their parent-child relationship. adolescent adoptees as well that have this ongoing contact with a member of their birth family report higher levels of satisfaction than those without contact. And of course, birth mothers who we all meet with and see after they make an adoption plan are, definitely report less grief, regret, and worry, and more relief and peace of mind than those without contact. So again, I think this makes a lot of sense when you see a birth mother who can see that her child is happy, healthy, well taken care of, how that could give her support and peace of mind. And I've talked to and seen adolescent adoptees expressing the same thing. To be able to see someone that physically looks like you and to understand your story fully and without any secrets is really beneficial for their development. And since we're on the topic of open adoption, I wanted to share this story with you all, a recent adoption that happened at Spence-Chapin. So we have birth mother Corinne in this photo, as well as the family that she chose, Sarah, Jorge, and of course their baby Carlo. Corinne was referred by an abortion provider when she found out she was too late to terminate her pregnancy. She was in New Jersey at the time, and still currently resides in New Jersey. She was about 7 months pregnant when she found this news. She kind of immediately decided she wanted to explore adoption. She was referred by them to call Spence-Chapin. She met with her counselor here, Spence-Chapin counselor, who traveled to meet with her, but she met with that person for about 2 months before giving birth. She had a boyfriend at the time too that also benefited and received free counseling services as well. He was not the biological father, but he was in a relationship with her at the time. And she also even continued to follow up with her social worker after making the adoption plan. So she had a lot of post-placement counseling as well. She chose an open adoption. I had the benefit of chatting with Corinne last November for National Adoption Month. She shared a wonderful story about the last visit she had with this family, how still grateful she is to them, and how wonderful they are to her. So that was just a wonderful update that we got from her recently.
So one of our most unique programs here at Spence-Chapin is our interim care program. And what that is we have volunteers that are licensed and supervised by Spence-Chapin, and they're able to take a newborn baby into their home and provide individual loving care to this baby for about 1 to 2 weeks. So it's pretty brief. But this gives biological parents extra time to plan if they're considering adoption or really any option. And these volunteers take babies to medical visits, any appointments they might have, and biological parents can also visit their baby while their baby's in this program, and they can also request their baby back at any time. So they're never penalized for using this program, and this program is absolutely free. So it's of no charge to biological parents. Anything you want to add?
I would say that the majority of women that are considering between making an adoption plan and parenting, and even when they're pretty sure about adoption, they utilize this program very often. It just gives them that additional time and space after a delivery to plan the rest of to finalize their plan. And so they get a lot of benefits from knowing that even if they're still working towards making a plan, that their baby's always going to get that individual loving care. Again, they do get visits with the interim care providers, so they get to hear the updates and how their baby's doing. It's a lot of relief so that they can make these big decisions. And I'm sure the adoptive parents feel the same way, that when they are taking a baby into their home, they have a really warm handoff, and they know the last time the baby ate, slept, was diapered, and all of that. So they play this really important glue and this role to really make sure the care is seamless.
And these volunteers are not adoptive parents, and they're not foster parents. They're just a neutral party that's taking care of the babies.
Exactly. And they many of them have had, maybe over 50 babies come through their care. So they know that they're just here to provide this brief amount of support. And again, I don't know if you mentioned, but interim care is about 1 to 2 weeks. So again, it's not long-term respite, but it is a good safety sort of, space for people to finalize their plans, and the baby gets that individual care. Okay, great. So now I'll kind of go into a little bit more detail about our special needs adoption program. It was founded in 1995, and since then we've connected more than 500, I believe it's over 520 children now, sorry, I jumped forward again, to permanent loving adoptive families that can care for them and all of their unique medical needs. So the babies that have come through our program range for a variety of special needs, including, it can start with high severe exposure to drugs or alcohol in utero. And again, we're not talking just very mild, occasional use. We're talking about much more known severe drug and alcohol exposure. But it can also include genetic disorders, syndromes, Down syndrome, autism, neurological disorders, shortened life expectancy, global developmental delay. So basically, any medical need that you find out in pregnancy or at birth, we can still, provide that support to the biological family to consider their options, as well as connect them to loving adoptive families throughout the country. Some people are shocked to hear that, but we've never not been able to find a family for a child that needed one. We do this by connecting with a very broad network of partners throughout the country to locate loving families. So again, the adoptive families in this program can come throughout the United States. It's also very well fully donor-funded support program, so we get a lot of donor support for this program. And again, these babies, some of the parents know when they're still pregnant, a lot of them find out at birth, and then they're also just grappling with this information for years to come. So again, we can work with kids in this program that are maybe even up to toddler age, 3 or 4 years old. So we encourage you to reach out even if you're not sure about a specific birth parent or child that needs support. We've also connected through specialty pediatric centers as well, inpatient pediatric centers who have children in their care as well that are in need of loving permanent adoptive families. Oh, and I didn't want to forget to mention that this wonderful program received the Angels in Adoption Award in 2011 from Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, as well as some of the recent adoptive families have also received this award. So we're very proud to have this service available. And this is one of our wonderful families. I just got a beautiful update from this mom today, who there's a beautiful story about her today, and I believe it's today.com. But she got her son Keegan this beautiful doll that reflects how he is and his own beauty. So it was a beautiful update. But let me tell you what happened with this story. So we worked with some birth parents. They chose a confidential adoption because of the shock and the stigma for their child's special need. He was diagnosed with giant nevus. They were unaware of this condition when they gave birth. They found out at the hospital. They were referred by their hospital labor and delivery social worker. This was in Brooklyn, New York. They were recent immigrants, did not speak English, needed full Mandarin Chinese interpretation and language services. They needed free legal representation too to fully consider all of their options. They were adamant they did not want foster care, but they were not able to parent for various reasons. They received counseling sessions as well as frequent updates, even though they chose a confidential adoption. They knew where their baby was going, and they felt that they wanted him to have that best life possible by his adoptive family. So, so that was just a story I wanted to share about this special needs adoption program. And again, I just got updates about how well Joy, Keegan, and he has an adoptive sister as well, Lorinda, are doing. And this is, now he's about, I think he's about 2 or 3 years old now. Yeah.
So I just want to highlight the free services that birth parents receive when they come to Spence-Chapin and seek our services. We've stated some of them already. Interim care for newborns, again, that's free, and that's not, they don't have to pay at any time for that. We have a diverse adoptive families that are waiting. They're pre-approved, and we want our adoptive parents to look like our birth parents, because we know that birth parents are very diverse and they're all different. They differ in race, culture, religion. So we have that. We do have independent attorneys who work with birth parents. They never work with birth parents and adoptive parents at the same time. They just are for the birth parents. We want to make sure that they're understanding, birth parents are understanding what they're signing. Like Lucy stated before, adoption is a permanent choice, and we just want to make sure they're never signing anything they don't understand. We do provide assistance with pregnancy-related expenses. In addition to that, we provide free transportation to and from the office for any counseling appointments, and we do provide post-adoption services as well.
So the next slide just sort of walks through the ways that we can discuss adoption as an option. I sometimes hear, some of you, again, are very comfortable with speaking about this, about adoption as an option, that you mention it in every conversation that you have with clients who are unsure about their options. And some of you might not be as familiar because, again, it does not come up as much as maybe some of the other options. So we just want to, give you the tools and resources you have when you're meeting with that client. Again, it may be the only time that this person opens up about their situation. It may be the only time that you get to see them. They may not come up for a follow-up visit. So it's great to be able to prepare and offer the information while they're sitting there in your office. So again, of course, providing non-judgmental information along with all the other options. It truly is valid, any choice or decision that they feel comfortable making. It's a very personal decision. So again, it's different for each person. And we just validate our clients' emotions, of course. And it is a difficult choice, but it doesn't mean it's not a loving choice. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't take their child's best interest in mind. So we always want to try to relieve birth mothers who may have some guilt or shame about not being able to parent, to just let them know that at least they're, really just thinking of their child. Also, we have some videos online that might be helpful, and we have them on our YouTube page. We have a whole, collection of videos that are from birth parent testimonials who have made adoption plans, exploring why they've made these plans and how they feel about it, and about open adoption, etc. And then we have all the brochures and materials that we can send to you all. And there, again, you can share directly with clients. And again, sometimes when they're not ready to have the conversation, it's just nice to have the brochure. They can look at it later when they, have more time and space to think about it. And then I would also just, encourage you to call with your client, call our hotline together. Oftentimes those are the referrals that are the strongest because, they know that there's a trusted person that they can talk to, and it's not just reaching out and dialing a number from a stranger. So again, we really encourage you guys to call us with them, and you'll get a member of our outreach team, and we can walk them through the process and then even offer to meet with them, at your site or wherever is convenient for them. So that number to call is 1-800-321-5683, and you'll see it at the end of this presentation, and you'll see it on all of our brochures. Okay. So this is a little bit more of a nuanced slide, but I think many of you may know that there are different pathways to adopt for both birth families and prospective adoptive families. And we just wanted to tell you a little bit about the differences and maybe even weigh the advantages of working with an organization like Spence-Chapin, which has a long history and a whole team around to support all members of the adoption triad, versus when a birth parent connects directly with an adoptive family and their attorney. So in an attorney, or independent adoption as they're sometimes called, that's when the adoptive parents really lead that networking and matching process. They're putting their information and profiles out there, and birth parents can find them online. And then the attorney becomes the main sort of connection or facilitator between the birth and adoptive families. Whereas at Spence-Chapin, birth parents lead the process. They come to us, we look at just their needs first. We're not considering the adoptive family at all at this point. We're offering options counseling. We're making sure that they know all their options. If they choose adoption, then we'll work with them on meeting and matching with families, but we can focus just on their needs. Also, it's a separate department too. Our adoptive department, family department, is a totally different team, and our birth parent side only works with birth parents. Birth parents also, when they're using an attorney, or networking with an attorney, they're not typically receiving as robust options counseling or social work or case management services, right? Because usually it's just an attorney and there's not a social worker involved. Whereas at Spence-Chapin, our entire birth parent team is all licensed master social workers. Also, I talked about the open adoption agreement, the post-adoption communication agreement, and only if the adoption is done through an organization can that agreement be enforceable, like legally binding. If it's done through an attorney, it's actually not legally binding in court. Courts will not accept it. So that's another secure measure of making sure that that an organization is involved, because it gives an extra layer of protection to both the birth parents and the adoptive parents, actually. And also the post-op support that is available through an organization like Spence-Chapin. We're here no matter what, 5, 10, 20 years down the line. If any member of the adoption triad needs support and services, we're here. Whereas if an attorney was there 10 years ago, they may not have the services later on.
And we would like you to meet our outreach and counseling team. Like Lucy stated in the previous slide, our staff consists of licensed master social workers, and we meet clients where they're at. So our service area is within 100 miles of New York City. If a birth parent calls us, we respond 24/7 and quickly. We want to make sure that if clients are reaching out to us and they might be in a crisis situation, that we're reaching back and we're responding. We are also available on weekends and evenings, and like we stated before, we do provide free language interpretation.
Yes, and I just wanted to add to that, so the 100 miles of New York City, the reason we have this service area is really because we do take a lot of care into providing this in-person support. We're not just going to do telephone calls or emails. We really need to meet with clients and talk to them one-on-one. So that's why we have this service area. We know we can get there and provide all the services needed. If it's a little bit outside of 100 miles, you can still call us. I know there might be people here that might be a little upstate New York or even a little further out in New Jersey. You can still call us. We have definitely made exceptions, and again, our program will consider our capacity at the time and let you know if we can work with you. And if not, we will absolutely refer you to a closer organization near you for any adoption guidance.
And again, we're available 24/7. You can call us on our confidential hotline. That's 1-800-321-5683. And you can also text us and email us. And we are on social media as well, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, etc.
I also wanted to note on that slide, you will see my contact information as well. So we have the referral number, which is 1-800-321-5683. And again, those last 4 digits are love, if you forget those numbers. That's for any type of referral that you want to make. And it's, again, 24/7. It's the best way to reach us because someone's going to pick up that phone at all times instead of having to leave a message. And we don't want you to have to leave a message if you have a client sitting in your office. But if you have questions about this webinar, you want to request more materials, you just want to ask me a question, please feel free to reach out. I really welcome anybody to set up time, and I'd love to have a phone call with you, and even come and present to your site. Typically what we do is we only do maybe 3 or 4 webinars a year, but we're out in the community every month presenting at in-services. I just did 2 in the Bronx this past month. I know Jen did Planned Parenthood recently in Long Island. She's going to a few more hospitals this week. So we're definitely there to present in person too in your team meetings if you would prefer. I know there might be other colleagues on your team that might benefit from this information. So we're happy to come out again and chat with you all and again, every time we do an in-service presentation, we bring plenty of brochures, materials. We even have a great poster that lists all the options counseling and all the options that we can discuss with your clients. So please request any of those that you would like. The number to call is 212-360-0219, or you can email me as well at lshaw, that's LSHAW, @spence-chapin.org. We'll leave that up on the slide for a little bit for you guys to look at while myself and my colleagues see if there's any questions that came in that we can address for you all. So stay on. We still have a couple more minutes, and we're happy to address any questions you have. Feel free to type them in now, too, in the questions box if you want to, and review the handouts, and we'll be back to you very soon. So we got some really great questions, and these are the kind of questions that we see in person, too. So I'm glad you guys have been paying attention. Thank you. So first couple questions were on, is there a revocation period, or if a mom changes her mind, how does that work? That's someone who's already, stated they're interested in an adoption plan. As well as birth father rights. So I'm going to let Jen, who's worked with all of these clients, kind of tell you how she's done it.
So, like I stated before, if a birth father is involved, we encourage his involvement if he's around. However, if the birth father is unknown, or maybe he has some involvement but just states he doesn't want to be involved, then we can move forward. However, generally we do try to give consent to the father. So there's different categories, notice versus consent, and there's different laws in New York State that we have to follow.
And New Jersey.
And New Jersey as well. So a birth father is notified if he fits that criteria.
Right. So we follow family court law stated in adoption law in New York, New Jersey. Again, they set the parameters whether a person must be notified before an adoption plan can take place, or whether they have to consent to it. If there are any questions or concerns, we involve our legal team right away to make sure that, usually we're talking with the mom only, so that she knows what's going on and what she has to do in order to make an adoption plan, whether she needs his consent or not. So ultimately, we really do work with birth mom to find out what she's comfortable with, and also let her know what the legal law states. But overall, the vast majority of the women that we've counseled and who've made adoption plans had the legal right to do so independently, because that birth father was not connected to her. There's cases like when they are legally married, either at the time of conception or at the time of birth, that father becomes a legal father and must be notified and consent. But again, many times that's not the case when we encounter pregnant women who are unsure about parenting. So to answer your question, it is complicated, but we will sort of work with our legal team and each case specifically to make sure that we do our due diligence in terms of notifying birth fathers. So great question there. You want to talk about revocation as well? And again, it's different from New York and New Jersey.
Yes, so in New York State, a birth parent has 30 days to revoke the adoption. In New Jersey, you have 0 days. So once you sign paperwork, surrender paperwork, then there's not a revocation period. And this is why we feel counseling is so important. We really pride ourselves in counseling these birth parents before they sign, and we also make sure that they understand that signing surrender paperwork, you're terminating your parental rights. So this is a very, very heavy and big decision, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
Yeah. So if any time we feel there's any uncertainty, we actually slow down the process. We say we don't need to sign right away. Let's take more time until you're 100% confident before signing, even if there is a revocation period in New York State. And again, just to add, for New Jersey, there is no revocation period, but there is a 72-hour waiting period where biological parent cannot surrender parental rights until 72 hours, 3 days after giving birth. So she says to the hospital, I want to sign. We say, hold up. There's a waiting period, and we actually have to do more option sessions before she could sign that legally. So again, we're following case law in New Jersey State and New York where we're licensed, and making sure that, that these agreements are solid and that people have gotten their legal rights and know fully what they are consenting to. Some more questions coming up. Do parents need consent for a minor to adopt? I think that means, like, if you're a minor, do your parents have to consent to you making an adoption plan? And the answer is actually no, not legally. Realistically, we got minors, they're at home, they're not financially independent yet. More often than not, they're gonna be under the kind of influence of their parent and caregiver. So our goal is to help them to make a plan, help them to get the support, to be honest and transparent, and get the support that they need, and let them know it is your choice. Ultimately, it's a difficult choice, and we want your family to support you, but ultimately, it is your choice. Do we conduct presentations at community-based organizations? Absolutely, we do. That's a wonderful question. So again, we hear the most from prenatal care sites and labor delivery hospitals, and that's just because that's where women are giving birth, and they have nobody else to, that's the last point of contact really that they would have options counseling. So, but we want more people to know, and we want people to know sooner in their pregnancy, right? Because this is such a huge decision. It's not something you can just consider in a day or a week or even a month. So we want people to be aware early on in pregnancy, early on, and really know full well their options. So please call us if you're at a CBO and you would like a presentation. I'm more than happy to come out there. I know I presented actually at a Healthy Families Before site. The Dominican Women's Development Center has a Healthy Families program we presented at. They were wonderful. And, you know, we really try to tailor the presentation to our audiences. So if we know you're seeing new moms, just gave birth, we're going to give you all that information. If we know you're seeing people, you know, very early on, or, you know, in a different community or needs a different language need, then we will address your community as well. So please reach out. You can email me, lshaw@spence-chapin.org, or call me 212-360-0219. And if you can't even remember that, just call the 1-800 number and you're good. We'll get in touch with you. 1-800-321-LOVE. For those relying on time, greatly limited. Okay. Good question. I hope I can answer it. For those relying on Title X, our options counseling is greatly limited. Will the gag rule impact options counseling by Spence-Chapin? So for those of you that don't know, Title X is for a lot of these family planning and prenatal care sites. Spence-Chapin doesn't receive that money. We never have. The gag rule limits certain providers from talking about or making referrals for abortion. I'm sorry, abortion, not adoption. So that's unfortunate, obviously, but as an organization that doesn't receive Title X funding, we still provide all options, counseling on all options, including abortion and termination. And again, we absolutely leave it up to the mom or the parent or the pregnant woman to decide. And she usually consults her partner as well, but it is her choice. And we absolutely will provide her with honest, accurate, transparent information. And we have some preferred providers that we refer to for abortion care. So this is a good one for you to take, this one about when you're counseling, say, a couple about adoption, and one person is for the plan and the other is not. How would you handle that?
So we don't move forward if one wants adoption and the other wants to parent their child. Of course, you know, they have to be on the same page for us to move forward with adoption. We're never going to move forward if only one wants to. So that's where just more counseling comes in and more discussion and what, you know, if they feel that they have support, if they, you know, if there's other options out there. So just getting them on the same page is key to that work, really. And that situation.
Yeah, and I think it really matters, again, if this is one of those legal fathers that has to consent, then what can we do? But if, you know, she's saying he doesn't want to be involved, then maybe we can move forward with her. But again, case by case, and again, we definitely don't want to do anything secret or hidden or not legal, and so we're gonna move with caution if someone is saying, wait, I don't agree to this plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all the time that we have. But there's other questions. So what we can, sorry, let me have one more. Do we have babies in the program? Okay, so there's one question about, so we have both a program for babies that have a special medical need, but of course also healthy infants. So we can do options counseling and provide adoption planning services for either case, any child, regardless of medical need. And someone just also asked if we can email the slides. So I can email you more information, more slides, and answer more of your questions in person. If I do actually see all the questions here, so if I didn't get to you today, you'll be hearing from us and we'll be able to follow up with you after this. We love questions and we want to make sure everyone gets all the information that they need. But just in the essence of time, I know you're all busy and need to get back to your schedule. So we're going to say thank you so much for joining us. This was great for us to just hear your questions and be able to offer these resources to you all. So have a great rest of your day, and we'll be in touch again soon. Thank you.
Thanks.